Bon après-midi à tous et bienvenue à une session du comité de dérogation pour la Ville d'Ottawa. Welcome everyone to the Committee of Adjustment hearings for Panel 1, Urban Area. We are a City of Ottawa quasi-judicial tribunal that holds public hearings to consider Planning Act applications, including minor variances and consents to sever land. Our hearings are back to being in person. However, the committee can enable remote participation by video conferencing when requested by registered speakers. We also are continuing to live stream on YouTube. The video is archived as usual and available for future viewing if you'd like to do that on the committee's website. My name is Anne Tobley and I'll be chairing today's hearing. With me today are my fellow panel members, Mr. John Bladerick, Mr. Simon Coakley, and Mr. Arto Keklian. I'll get that right at some point. Sorry about that. So in terms of procedures, the hearings will unfold as follows. So there's a listed on the agenda you saw at the beginning. There's essentially the order in which the applications come in, but we have an opportunity to change some of that around, which we will be doing. Note that the panel members have reviewed all the materials related to the applications before us today, including planning reports and any written submissions in support and in opposition. So today we're going to hear some oral submissions relating to each of the applications. As part of the statutory public notification requirements, each applicant is required to post a sign on the property in question before the hearing. They're also required to confirm in writing that they've done so, or what we've been doing during the hybrid sessions is to orally provide the opportunity to swear or affirm under oath that the sign posting requirements have been met. Otherwise, we may have to postpone the hearing of that application. In fact, we do postpone the hearing of the applications unless we have that stat deck in one form or the other. So the panel may ask a brief presentation of an application followed by questions to the applicant and city staff. So we always start with that first. And then we hear from members of the public, and I will turn to my speakers list and then open it up from that point on. We may ask questions of our speakers, so be prepared for that. We'll let you know. Please address your comments to me as chair, starting with your name and spelling if necessary. If you're on my speakers list, I don't need that. I will only need it if you are if you're coming forward without being on that list. So it's for record purposes, so that we have that. So there's also a 5-minute rule. The discretion to extend that is at the chair's option. So at the end of the hearing on the application, the panel will either make an oral decision or we can reserve our decision. And in the latter case, the committee's decision will not be delivered during the course of the hearing. It will instead, and in both cases, be provided in writing within 10 days. It's an official decision that provides reasons for the decision to all parties, participants, and anyone who has requested a copy of that decision. So now, turning to some preliminary and procedural matters. So the first thing is, are there any declarations of conflict of interest for any of the items on this panel or on any other panel?
Not so much a declaration of conflict of interest, but I will be, but I will be recusing myself from the discussion of Scott Street.
All right, thank you very much for that. Anyone else? No? Okay, we have no minutes to confirm, so we're going to go straight to then what are many adjournment requests for today's agenda. So we're going to start with number 1, which is 516 Tweedsmuir. And who is the agent on this? So we've got Ms. Hill. So is Ms. Hill not in the audience here? So Ms. Hill, are you online? All right, I'm not seeing Ms. Hill come forward on this.
Hello.
There you are. So on this, then you're aware that there's adjournment request.
Yes.
All right.
Sorry, and we would agree to that.
All right. Just for the record, can you just give us reasons for the adjournment request?
Yeah, well, we had anticipated that the city would be changing their zoning with an omnibus amendment going to council July 12th, but the city planners have decided not to proceed with that amendment. We designed the project with that amendment in mind, And without it, we're in trouble. So we'll have to do some rethinking.
Sorry, thank you for that. Any questions about the adjournment from panel members at all on that? Okay, so there's no questions. With that, then we're proposing a sine die just to give you some time to work through with staff. Is that all right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, thanks. I'm just going to make a call out to the audience. Is there anyone who would like to speak to an adjournment request either for or against for the property at 516 Tweedsmuir Avenue? All right, not seeing anybody come forward. So in that case, all those in favor of an adjournment, sine die. All right, so it's unanimous. Thank you very much, Ms. Hill, and good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right. Next one up is 182 Keyworth Avenue. And I am looking for, agent here would be Mr. Lind. Oh, sorry. Hang on, that's maybe not the right one. Just give me a moment. Yeah, no, I'm looking for Mr. Lemaire. Mr. Lemaire in the audience? No? All right, so where is Mr. Lemaire? Have you got the, do we know if we have the agent with us?
Madam Chair, he doesn't seem to be online. I'll give him a call.
All right, we're gonna step that one down then, just give me a moment, so make sure I can come back to that one. Okay, and come back to this. All right, so next one we have as an adjournment request is number 4 for 9 La Douceur. We're looking for Mr. Saunders. Mr. Saunders. Do we have Mr. Saunders either online or, well, he's not here. It's not in person.
Good afternoon, Chair.
Good afternoon. So on this application, you're aware then, Mr. Saunders, that there's an adjournment request?
Yes.
All right. So can you just just very briefly summarize the reasons for the adjournment?
Yes, so we're requesting an adjournment in order to accommodate a request made by the Community Association to meet on July 11th, as indicated in comments provided to the committee. And as a result of the meeting, we may seek to amend the application based on our conversations with them. And we're seeking to adjourn until the August 16th meeting. This is to provide us with time to potentially amend the application if that becomes a result of the meeting. Whereas the August 2nd meeting wouldn't provide us enough time to resubmit and recirculate the application if needed.
All right, so Mr. Saunders, August 16th actually barely gives you the time to do that too. So I'm wondering whether or not, if there's any chance that there may be an additional minor variance added as part of this application, then in abundance of caution, I would actually tell you, you may want to go to September 6th to be absolutely certain, because it's going to be tight even with the August 16th. We have, staff's on holidays this summer, so we've got, some not our usual capacity to turn things around very quickly because of the summer holidays. So I would suggest that the September 6th might be actually a better date for you to target.
Madam Chair, after speaking with committee staff, we've noted they mentioned that we would need to submit by the 21st of July in order to make the August 16th date. And given the nature of the application, the only matter that would be realistically up for discussion with the community association is related to the specific parking provision of the minor variance and whether it's to permit 1 or 2 spaces. So the amendment would be a relatively minor change, which we believe we can make a quick turnaround on and resubmit before the 21st of July, giving us plenty of time to recirculate as necessary for the August 16th meeting.
All right, thank you for that explanation, Mr. Saunders. Just want to confirm with staff then that in fact, August 16th, you have had this discussion and that will work for you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I didn't participate in those conversations personally. I do believe if all required information and documentation is submitted by July 21st, we would be able to circulate for an August 16th hearing.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, any questions about an adjournment request to August 16th by the panel members? Nope. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak either for or against an adjournment request for this property at 9 La Douceur, August 16th? Not seeing anybody, not in person, not in the line. So with that then, members, all those in favor? All right, for the record, the application is adjourned to August 16th. We'll see you then, Mr. Sanders, and good luck to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Chair.
All right, next one is number 6, 612 Tweedsmuir Avenue. I'm looking for Ms. Soar. Good afternoon. So just for the record, can you just give me just briefly the reasons for the adjournment?
Yeah, for sure. We just, we're looking for a little bit more time to discuss with staff and the Westboro Community Association about tree retention on site.
All right, so just specifically tree retention, nothing else?
Yeah, that's sort of the main issue we're looking at, is trying to retain more trees.
And do you have a meeting already set up with the community association for those discussions?
Not yet, but we have been in contact with them and we'll probably set something up either later this week or early next week.
You're confident you have enough time between now and July 19th to address the issues?
Yeah, I'm confident. We have spoke with city staff before as well, so that's kind of an ongoing conversation as well.
All right, okay, with that then, any questions from members of the panel on this adjournment request to July 19th? No. All right. Is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak either for or against the proposal for an adjournment on this application to July 19th? Not seeing any. All right. So members of the panel, all those in favor? Okay. So for the record, it's unanimous. We've got adjournment, Ms. Soar. Sometimes I keep forgetting, I look back, this has happened to me before. So we'll see you on the 19th then. So good luck to you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. All right. Second last, 1756 Scott Street. And I'm looking for Mr. Paul Francis. Do we have him online? Do we have Mr. Francis? Can staff confirm whether Mr. Francis is in attendance?
He's online. He just needs to press unmute on his end.
Okay, because I'm not seeing him come up at all here.
Madam Chair, I believe the participant needs to accept being promoted to a panelist.
He's declining.
Okay,
The individual, I'm told, is declining being promoted to panelist,
oh,
declining to come forward, Madam Chair.
okay.
He's rejoining.
Oh,
Uh,
bear with us.
we're all still getting used to this, you know. I think that's what it is.
Paul Francis here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, can't see you. Any chance you can put your video camera on? There you are.
Guilty as charged.
So, Mr. Francis, you're aware that there's a request for adjournment on your application?
I'm very unhappy about this because I feel I've been blindsided twice now. When we originally brought this, it was brought to my attention that because the parking space was below size, it needed a minor variance. So we adjourned. I amended the R plan. I filed it with them. I calculated the dimensions as to what I was told the parking space should be. I filed it on that basis. Now, this last week, I get told that no, because it's not on the same lot, it isn't satisfactory. And instead of adding the width of the two parts, 11 and 12, I can only go on part 11. And therefore, the minor variance as submitted is wrong, according to a very technical interpretation by the city about it. Surely this should be an exception to the rule that what we're asking for is a minor variance for parts 11 and 12. which is very close, which is 2.48 meters as opposed to 2.6 meters required, and that's minor. Now I'm told we need another minor variance for the right of way, and we need a further minor variance amendment to only apply to part 11. And I feel that this is extremely unfair to my client. And it seems to me it doesn't matter what I do here, I'm presented with something else the next time round. If I'd been told this at the last meeting, I could have dealt with it, but I wasn't. This is something yet again new that I'm being blindsided with.
I understand, Mr. Francis. There are, in fact, a number of issues with your application. We had a chance to review it prior to coming into this hearing. And in the way that it is right now, it certainly is not in a format that this committee can deal with properly. We don't do on the floor amendments. It's not the way we operate. We'd like to know what we're approving and know.
Could I please have a list of
If
exactly
I can
what
finish,
is
Mr.
required?
Francis, can I finish? So what I'm trying to say is that we like to ensure that we have a fullness of application before we approve it. And what I see here is that there's in fact a number of modifications that need to be made to properly reflect what it is that this committee would be approving. So with that, I think we're proposing that we adjourn sine die on this application to give you that time. I believe staff has also requested additional information to confirm existing legal non-conforming rights. So there's quite a bit of work that still has to be done.
Legal non-conforming rights, that's another one.
I beg your pardon?
Legal non-conforming rights, that's another blind side.
I beg your pardon?
I have a list of exactly what is required so I can deal with it once and for all.
Absolutely, we can do that. So is Ms. Linker on the call? She's not in the room here today. So Ms. Linker, can you come forward, please? All right, Ms. Linker, have you provided to Mr. Francis a list of the information that he requires? Because you have flagged that in your report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Staff have provided a list in the report of what we believe is required. However, the onus is on the applicant to identify all the minor variances that are required.
So now you want a
When
minor
was that?
variance for the,
So, Mr. Francis, I'm still talking to staff if you wouldn't mind.
Sorry.
please. So Ms. Linker, can you tell me when you provided that information to Mr. Francis?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Staff provided or reached out to the applicant to discuss the application back in April and offered to consult further with the applicant and review the application prior to resubmission. However, staff did not receive any contact from the applicant prior to resubmission. And staff contacted the applicant again once the item was resubmitted to let him know about the further variances that are required again.
yeah, last
Mr.
week.
Francis, go ahead, Mr. Francis.
You wrote to me last week. I replied to you on June 29. And this bit about it's two different properties, so that won't do. You didn't mention anything about that before. That torpedoes the amended application. Now you want a further application for the 1.17 meters
All right, so
for both the parking space and the driveway. Is this everything? What is this
Right.
about a non-conforming use?
I'm going to let you guys take that one offline because
That's the
so
first
that
one
needs
I've
to
heard of a
happen.
non-conforming use.
there needs to be a reconfirmation of what the requirements are. So Ms. Linker, I'm going to leave that with you. Please follow up with Mr. Francis tomorrow if you can. Ensure that he's aware and has everything, has a list of the requirements. Then you can go through that with him maybe next week to make sure that there's an understanding of what that is and how it might impact the application. And then, so we're going to adjourn sine die because I think there's still quite a few things that have to happen. I'm going to open it up to my panel members. Any questions about the adjournment sine die? No. All right. So out to the audience then, is there anyone in the audience, either in person or online, who would like to speak to the adjournment request sine die? All right. I'm not seeing anybody. So all those in favor? All right, so for the record, the application is adjourned sine die. Unanimously, Mr. Francis, I'm going to wish you luck because it sounds like there's a lot of discussion that still has to happen. And
I'm gonna
we're
need
looking
it.
forward to a revised staff report that reflects what it is that your client would like to do. And hopefully it'll all be in order the next time we see you.
Well, I cannot get a simple, complete list of what's needed. What is this about a non-conforming right use? This is the first I've
Staff
heard of
report.
that.
I'm gonna refer you to the staff report. So if you want to read that, you will see what I'm referring to. It's in literally the first paragraph. All right. Thank you, Mr.
Well, there
Francis.
is no non-conforming rights to an undersized front yard parking space. There is no front yard parking space.
Okay, so Mr. Francis, please take it up with Ms. Linker and we will see you when the application is ready to be heard by the committee. And with
But
that,
there
I'm
is-
moving on to the next
there is no
application.
front
So I'm
yard
going to go
parking.
back to number 3. And I'm looking for Mr. Lemaire. Did we find Mr. Lemaire? Is he back?
Madam Chair, I don't believe we've been able to connect with Mr. Lemaire. I would note he did indicate in written correspondence that he was agreeable to an adjournment to the next hearing date. But we haven't been able to connect by phone or email.
All right, so with that, then I'm going to propose we actually sine die this one because we can't explore the viability of that date in any way with the agent, which I think is something that we try to do before we actually set for the public a date that makes sense. So with that, then, this is number 3 for 182 Keyworth Avenue. I'm proposing a sine die adjournment. Any questions about that by the committee? Any opposition to that proposal? All right.
One comment.
Yes, go.
If staff could, if we're going to adjourn this that length of time, staff could kindly determine whether or not there's a requirement for an up-to-date survey plan. We don't apparently have one on file.
I can add to that. There's no site plan either. So
No, it's true.
So thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
ahead.
so like all the drawings had conflicts, so we don't actually know what's going on. The same site plan was submitted to the Committee of Adjustment like several times with different dimensions. So we're not sure exactly what's going on. We tried to contact the applicant requesting like clear drawings to even express like exactly what they are looking for. Are they looking for addition or a deck or like what exactly? So it needs further like clear documents, drawings, survey and everything, and even communication.
Thank you, Ms. Al-Khatib. I think then what you've done is essentially been able to justify a reason for a sine die because it sounds like there's a lot that has to be done. So with that, I'm going to call anyone in the audience who wants to speak either for or against the proposal to adjourn sine die for the application at 182 Keyworth Avenue. Not seeing anyone, not online, not in person. So with that, members of the panel, all those in favor? All right, so it's unanimous. We are adjourning sine die, the application at 182 Keyworth. So thank you. That takes us now to our agenda, I believe, which there isn't a whole lot remaining. So we're going to hear as an unopposed application, number 5, 57 Muriel Street. So the agent is Mr. Nirmal. Come on down. So we don't request a presentation. In fact, we're not even going to questions at this point. The planner on this was, let me just go back, got to find our planner on my sheet. So Ms. Linker, is there anything else that we need to know about this application before we proceed with the decision on it?
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, there isn't any additional information.
All right, thank you. So with that then, so now just bear with me. All those, sorry, I'm not at a vote. Time to, sorry, I'm looking for my speakers list. Was there anybody for this one? Let me just have a look. This was number, hang on. 8, 7, hang on. Anybody on my list? Nope. I don't have anybody on the list. And we do have the signed declaration, which is good. All right, so I'm going to call it out. Anybody in the audience, either here or online, want to speak to this application either for or against? Not seeing any. With that, then, members of the panel, all those in favor? So the application is granted. So thank you very much. That's all we need with that one. And so now we're going to go to applications that we're going to hear more fully, which is applications number, let's go to number 2 for 248, 250 Bayswater Avenue. Look at Mr. Lind on that one. Hello. All right, so let me just check. Number 2. So you have, okay, your sign posting is in. That's good. All right, we're not going to request a presentation from you on your application. So we're going to go straight to then questions from the panel members. So does anybody have any questions for Mr. Lind on this application? Any questions? Yes, go ahead, Mr. Blatterwick.
I'm just wondering, Mr. Lind, have you submitted a plan of survey for this application? That's not, that's
there was
not
an original
19
survey.
It's not 1964.
No,
Because it seems to be a considerable difference between what I see in the 1964 plan of survey and what you've submitted. As far as the size of the structure at the rear of the property.
it hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed at all.
No.
Right.
Any further questions, Mr. Blatterwick?
That's not what I see from the,
Was there something specific that looks different?
yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the shape of the structure. That's from the survey in 1964, and it's a square. And you're now down to a rectangle, so obviously there was modifications made to that structure at some point.
I'm not sure what it's a 2-story brick building or a residence, semi-detached.
I'm
He hasn't
talking
changed.
about the accessory structure at the rear.
Oh, you mean the garage part?
Mhm.
The garage is half the size of what it was, only because it was taken down for structural reasons. It's an older building. It was built in 1938 or something.
So it's still being used for the same purpose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that hasn't, the use hasn't changed. It's still a garage.
All right, thank you.
I
Madam
was
Chair.
gonna ask a follow-on question then. Is there anything else though? Because I mean, Member Blatterick is correct. I mean, this is a really old survey and you're already, your first comment to us was, well, there was no change. And now we hear, yes, there was change because the garage came down. So is there anything else we need to know about?
Well,
'Cause I also don't see.
No, that's it. I didn't realize it was the garage that was contentious in question. It was the building itself, the house, the 2 houses hasn't changed.
All right, okay. Any questions from anyone else? Any other member on this application? Yes, go ahead, Member Coakley.
So I take from your information, you own both of the 2 residences at the moment, and you're seeking to have the variance for a parking space in front of 250. Is that
248.
248? Apologies. So where is 248 currently parking its vehicles?
Well, because the home basically is owned by the same family. We share the driveway, but it's turning out where there's no family members who want to take over the other half. And so the inconvenience of sharing a driveway. So we're trying to apply for a driveway that can be separate and dedicated to the 248 property.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I do need to understand that. So you've got a parking space right now. And if I'm looking at your old survey, I mean, it looks like it's a rear yard parking.
It's
are you
a driveway that goes all the way back to the garage.
All right, so, and you want the parking space in front, and I don't see a site plan, so I don't have that. I
There
can't
was-
actually see it.
There was a site plan submitted.
Okay, let me just have a look and see. It's here. Okay, all right, thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah.
So the one parking space then, instead of using the laneway that you do today, which goes to, so
It's basically on the side of the.
I see, I
250.
see.
And
Okay.
what we want to do is eliminate that that shared service of the driveway and dedicate a parking space at 248.
Okay, so both today use that laneway and park in that laneway.
Yeah, because it's shared with the family.
I see, I
But we're
see.
trying to, I guess, rent or maybe even sell the property. Once we get to the point where we can sever the property and do all the other stuff to it, that's necessary.
All right, thank you. I just have a question from Ms. Alcatib, if I could, please. So I see you have some concerns, Ms. Alcatib, about that parking space. Is an additional parking space required for this property?
Yes, Madam Chair, there is no required parking for this property.
All right, so they could continue to share that laneway and parking to the rear of one property. And because there's no requirement for a parking space, then we're not looking, it's not like it's a non-compliance with having a space that's dedicated to somebody that's on another property. So none of that would apply here. Am I correct?
So I didn't go through what agreements they have together, but according to the information that I know, that they are two separate properties. They used to use the parking together, and now Mr. Lin want to use a separate parking to themselves. But the planning opinion is it's not the dominant character, and that transportation engineers have concerns about it, and also right of way have concerns about it. It's prohibited to have a parking in the totally contained in the front yard.
All right, so Mr. Lind, if I understand, then, so what happens is that the owners or the occupants of the unit that's at, I guess, at the opposite side of the laneway, which is 248, they just park then on 250, is that correct?
That's
And they
right.
just share it.
Yeah.
And so, and did you say they're related? Sorry, remind me, are they related?
Yeah, well, it's a family property.
I
It's
see,
that's
I
what-
see.
And
Okay.
and currently there's, we're changing it. It was like my mother and myself live next door, and my mother's left the home now. She's elderly, she had to leave the home. So now I'm taking over the whole property. But I'd have to rent one side, or I'd like potentially to sell it, but I have a considerable amount of work to upgrade the property. And this would be one of those things. That's why I'm coming for the front yard parking. It's sort of the first step of trying to get the property in the right condition for marketability for sale.
So are they separate parcels right now?
It shows as two parcels of land, but legally, it's not, only because it's been in the family for so long, and I guess the legal wranglings of the whole separation, because one property, 250, the services in 250 enter into 248. And there is a party wall between the two, but the party wall only continues up to the attic space and doesn't continue further. So there's a separation issue, there's a mechanical issue, a sanitary. Basically, the sanitary line runs through 248. That has to be changed in order to get the property in a position to sever.
All right.
Legally.
So it sounds like it's merged in title. So,
yes, that's what it's called.
okay. And Ms. Alcatib, can you confirm that for us? Did you look into that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, in the first place, what I understood from the applicant that he was looking for consent. Then afterwards, he applied for a minor variance only.
I see. Okay. And to go back to this notion then about that parking space being in the front yard, your staff report essentially has concerns regarding that. You're saying that is it not in keeping with the characteristics of the neighborhood? Can you confirm that, Ms. Alcatib?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, so the parking is not the dominant character.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Alcatib,
My
on that.
understanding, sorry, Madam Chair, my understanding was that it falls in a category B, but then it has to be the most, the most strict to the rule. So it does fall like in front yard, driveway, and it just didn't, because it it seemed to go into another group, A, rather than the B.
All right,
That's what it said in the character report.
so Ms. Alcative, can you help us out here? Because it sounds like there's a bit of a difference of opinion on what that street character analysis.
Just it says access driveway parking character group B.
So, Madam Chair, when we received the form from the applicants, we revise what's provided, and we do the streetscape character analysis by ourselves to confirm that maybe the applicant has misread part, or like seen something that the city would see illegal, and they see it like a double garage or a double wide driveway, which is actually something that was widened illegally. So finally, we did that by ourselves, and the dominant character is A, which no front facing garage.
All right, okay, so Mr. Lind, sorry, Mr. Lind. So it sounds like staff do it themselves and that they've come to a different result than you. So what are you pointing to then for us?
It was the letter I received on April 6th. Confirmation of streetscape character analysis. And then there is, so the analysis in this front facing attached garage and carports, character group A, access driveways parking, character group B, location of front door, character group A. So I'm not sure where I'm misreading this.
Okay, so let's bring Ms. Alcative back. So can you explain that letter and what it means to us, please?
This parking is not about it's not the dominant character. There is other violations like being prohibited having a parking in the front yard, and like the concerns of the transportation engineers and also the right of way have concerns about it. So it's not only about the dominant character, but like definitely the dominant character is an A, which there is no front facing garage or like parking in the front yard.
And did you write that letter? Is that to Mr.
Yes.
Lind? Okay.
Yes, we sent him like a concurrence letter with the explanation.
And did that clearly say that the street
Yes.
was A? Then I'm not.
Yes.
I'm not
It
getting.
says, I think that maybe there's confusion here because I'm not attaching a garage or a carport to the property. Right? It's like, that's not part of my application. My application is just for a driveway with parking. And in that access driveways parking, it's a character group B in my letter.
All right.
So if from the site plan, you'll see that I haven't added a garage to the front of the home or the property in that request for that parking space. It's basically just a driveway to the front of the house.
It's a driveway, but it becomes a parking space
Yeah,
in front.
base-
Okay,
base.
so whether it has it, so that's the relief that you're being asked for, and that's the concern. So that's what we need to address. So I just want to be clear that in the staffs, I think this is what I'm hearing, is that there's different components to that streetscape analysis. The one that deals with the parking element, and I'm guessing, does it matter whether it's a carport, a garage, or just a space, Ms. Alcative?
Yes, Madam Chair. So like the streetscape character analysis is divided into three parts. The first part is the parking, the second part is the driveway, and the third part is the entrance. So like a driveway is a driveway that leads to a garage. So like we can't call it like a driveway parking. No, it's a parking space or it's a driveway leading to the garage. So the dominant character.
Let's deal with the parking component. Let's deal with the parking component. What was that? What did that come out as in your streetscape analysis?
So the dominant in the street is having a driveway leading to either an interior side parking or a rear yard parking. There is no front parking in the street. That's not the dominant character of the street. So the dominant, yes, is a driveway leading to interior side yard parking or a rear yard side parking, which you can see in the site plan. It's already like on the 250 Bayswater. So they have the dominant character, which is a driveway leading to a rear yard parking.
And is that an A or a B or what did that? come in?
ABA. It's ABA.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Yes, Member Cochran.
So if I could follow up on this, I'm looking at the picture that you provided in your letter.
Yes.
And I'd appreciate city planners' comments on this. So, but just if you could help, the one that you wish, 248 is the one on the right-hand side of the picture. And so what looks to me like a driveway going down the side of the building is not yours, it's next door's. Okay, I guess my question to the city though would be, and so what is the difference between a driveway going to the back of the property and somebody parking a vehicle at the front, at the very beginning of that driveway versus a parking spot right in front of the building, in front of the window, presumably, of 248? I mean, what guarantee, I suppose where I'm going is, what guarantee does the city have that a driveway is never used as a parking spot?
So a driveway is defined as a space leading to a garage. So it's not or like a parking space, a legal parking space.
Oh.
Having a parking space in a front yard is prohibited by the zoning bylaw. So like front yard, yeah.
I will confess to parking my car on my driveway most of the time and not in my garage most of the time.
And the neighboring property beside me, they park two cars in a driveway that doesn't even go to a garage. They can't get the two cars between the properties. I'm not sure. And then if I looked at, to me, the dominant character of the neighborhood was that people park in the front of the house. They don't even go to the back of the house.
I'm just trying to ascertain what the city's concern is here and what the applicant is proposing. So thank you.
All right, any other questions from Member Blatherwick? Go ahead, please.
Mr. Lind, I'm looking at the site plan that you've submitted that shows the front yard parking at 248. You've got that in front of you. Okay, and if you wouldn't mind going to the first page of the report that you wrote us or sent us.
The letter
dated May 31st.
Okay.
Okay, and there's two photos.
Yeah.
On
front
that page,
and the back.
on the left is the front of your property.
Yeah.
And on the right is the rear of the property.
Yes, sir.
So we're talking about parking in front of 248. However, I'm looking at this picture and you've obviously established front yard parking in front of 250. And quite frankly, I've gone to Google Maps and that was confirmed. What are you going to do about that illegal front yard parking in front of 250?
It's being eliminated.
And how is it being eliminated?
Soft landscaping.
Yeah, and how are you going to ensure that nothing can park there?
It's going to be grass, and from the, I guess it's the engineering department, they're saying that I'd have to get a permit to include, I guess, the street access for the 248 and remove the one for 250.
I'd suggest that that vertical measures would work, like a 9-inch curb. I have many of these types of situations in my neighborhood where walkways have been put in and they end up as parking spaces in front of houses. So I'm very sensitive to the greening of the property as well. Mm-hmm. And that's why I was removing the illegal spot and trying to green it, as well as green a good portion of the side property for 250 to increase the amount of soft landscape on the property. Planning department, get any comments about this? What appears to be non-conforming parking in front of 250 Bayswater? Was that picked up when you folks were looking at this application?
So this would be for Ms. Al-Khatib, and I saw that Monsieur Renaud, you're with us as well. So happy to hear from you if you'd like. Monsieur Renaud, go ahead, please.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. I'm not sure if I should answer the question at hand, but I had my hand raised earlier to supplement the answer that was given in response to Member Coakley's question. So I don't know where you want me to direct my interjection here.
All right, so let's talk about the parking space first. That's illegal and apparently being removed. So tell us a little bit about the discussions on that and what's going to happen to follow up on member Blatherwick's question, and then you can come back to the other issue if you'd like.
So I noticed that myself, and it appears as though there is a space in front of the house that is paved, and that would constitute a front yard parking space in itself. I don't have the information that tells me whether or not that has been put in legally, but it does exist. But existing in itself doesn't make it legal. So if it was put in illegally, then it is in fact an illegal front yard parking space.
Okay, and then going back to, I think it was the streetscape discussion, I think that you wanted to.
Well, member Coakley was asking about parking in a driveway versus parking in a, on a piece of asphalt that leads up to the front wall of a house. And one of the key words that member Coakley used was that he parks his cars sometimes in the driveway and sometimes in the garage. The key word is sometimes. And if you have a driveway that leads to the front of the house, then that car is going to be parked there all of the time. And so there is a difference in impact on the streetscape. And that is why parking spaces are permitted to be located either on the side of the house or at the rear of the house or in a garage. And a legal driveway can lead to a parking space. You're allowed to park in a driveway, and it doesn't have to be technically in the parking space, but in order for a driveway to exist, it needs to lead to a legal parking space in order to protect the streetscape.
All right, so Mr. Renaud, then looking at variance C that talks about permitting a parking space to be located in the front yard. So there is a distinction between somebody parking in their laneway to the side of the house versus somebody doing exactly what we're looking at removing here at that was it
248.
yeah 250 I guess
248.
248
Oh, yeah.
no 250.
Proposed.
So that's like a parking space right in front of a living area. So my understanding was that that's what we were really trying to get away from. Is there a distinction in the bylaw about that?
About the location of parking?
A difference
Yes.
between a front yard parking in front of a living space versus front yard parking in a laneway that is adjacent to the house. So in the side yard.
Well, the term front yard parking is not a term that's defined in the bylaw. It's just a term we used when permitting something that is otherwise not permissible. A parking space should be located outside of the front yard, period. And what's being proposed, regardless of if it's this driveway would be located in front of a living area or not, that's not really the crust of the discussion. Is rather the location of the parking spot being located in the front yard.
All right, I think I get it.
And it's a different, it's a different, there's two different things at hand where we were talking about the streetscape character analysis beforehand, and now we're talking about whether or not the zoning bylaw legally allows that parking space to exist. And those are two separate distinctions that in earlier discussions and at this meeting seem to be kind of intertwined with each other, but it's important to make the distinction that these are two separate elements that need to be discussed separately, and approving one doesn't make the other okay. I don't know if I'm making everything more or less confusing, but I thought I'd mention that.
No, I think it's good. Thank you, Ms. No, for that. Any further questions from the panel? No? On that? All right. So looking at my list, my speakers list, have we got anybody for, no, we have nobody on my list. Is there anyone in the audience either here or online that would like to speak to this application either for or against? Not seeing anybody. So with that, then I think, Mr. Olin, we're going to reserve on this one. So we have some discussion that we have to, that we really should undertake as a panel. So we're going to reserve. And I think we have everything we need in order to make that decision. So thank you very much.
Just one.
Yes, go ahead.
I was referred to section 109 of the bylaw. And in it says, it talks about, not non-conforming parking, but there is a special condition under, it says special conditions where parking abutting a street is permitted in a residential zone. And I followed those guidelines in the design intent of that parking space. So
sorry, read that to me again. What section?
So it's location of parking section 109.
Okay.
And it's actually, there's 109, and then it's a 3 where it says that you can't, but then in item 5, it says despite section 3, parking is permitted in either a front yard, a corner side yard, or an extension of a required corner side or rear yard if the following apply, and I followed those. So like I assume that based on what I was following from the bylaw, that was an acceptable solution to the front yard parking.
Did you have
Because
that discussion with Ms. Alcatip?
Yeah, she was the one who referred it to me, and I had included it in my site plan as one of the items. That's the section that I followed, and it never came back. So there was no discussion about that was wrong. What they did come back was saying that the parking space needed to be 5.2 meters. So I increased it to, because it says in this one, it says 4.6 meters. She came back and said it needs to be 5.2 meters. So I increased it to 5.2 meters.
Right.
So my before coming, I understood that by increasing it, I was falling within the guidelines that it would be permitted.
All right, so let's hear from Ms. Alcatip. I see her hand is up. Please provide us with insight because it's getting confusing. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So at first, the parking is related to the dominant character as because like it's a mature neighborhood. So that's in the first place. So what I had a look to is like if the committee of adjustment would grant it, he would need to follow the requirements for a parking space. So a parking space needs to be like in a certain dimensions. It can be lesser, like, or it should be like a really good space to accommodate a car. So if it would be granted with the wrong dimensions, it's again, it's not following the zoning bylaw. So what I was looking for is to provide all what could be required by the zoning bylaw. If it's would be granted, even if it's not the dominant character, I want it to be like correct. That's it.
Okay. So it was an abundance of caution. So if the committee chose to provide for that, then she wanted to make sure that you would be otherwise in compliance, which is good. This is good. You got great advice.
Yes, you know, I did, and I understood that, but it's not a parking space that's not, you know, like it's not uncommon for the neighborhood. I know it says, I know what she's going back to, but even the reviews that were received, none of them actually said, no, he can't do it. They're just saying if he does it, he needs to get a permit for the access from the street through the right of way. I need to do this and I need to do that. And I will, even a grading plan will be done. It's all part of the next steps. That's why I thought this wasn't that drastic of a change to the streetscape.
Okay, so I think we've heard from both your side and from Ms. Alcatip at this point, so I don't think we need to go there anymore.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, I think we understand that.
Okay.
So, okay, so I think we have done the public portion on this. So, and I indicated that we're going to reserve. Thank you for your references. We'll definitely take all of that into consideration. And you will get the written
Just this
decision.
question, what does reserve mean?
It means that we make a decision today. We just want to have a chance to talk a little bit more about some of the issues that we've heard about today and work through that ourselves to see where we want to go with it. So,
Okay.
so yeah, the decision will be made before we leave today, Mr. Lind, I promise you. So-
Thank you. Again, thank you so much for hearing it. I was hopefully that I was following what is common to the neighborhood and some of the bylaw regulations. So I just, thank you.
All right, thank you. With that, then we have just one left to hear, which is application number 7 for 556 Riverdale Avenue. And who are we looking for? Is it Diane Conescu? Did I get that right? I'm sure I didn't. All right. So we're not going to request a presentation from you on this. I am going to, unless the members want a presentation, I think I can just open it up to questions then. Is there anyone that would like, yes, go ahead, Member Coakley.
So in reviewing the application, one thing that was not entirely clear to me is the status of the existing parking spot that will become contrary to the bylaw. If I understand correctly, you want to make some modifications to the interior of the building to create new units. That bumps you into a new zoning category for which this parking spot is no longer allowed. You're seeking to maintain the parking spot. I get that. Okay, good. I got that. The spot itself at the moment, can either you or city staff confirm what its status is? Is it currently in compliance with the current zoning bylaw?
Yes, so this building was built in 3 years ago, and the parking spot is part of that application. It was built according to the approved permit that was issued at that time, and it's currently in use. It's been in use since the completion of the building in 2021, I believe.
Okay.
All right, thank you for that. Ms. Linker, I just want to hear from you as well, just a confirmation of that, because I think the way we understood this is that the application currently, so the property currently, without the minor variance and the further development, is completely in compliance with the zoning bylaw. The only thing throwing that parking space into non-compliance is the fact that we're adding a unit. Otherwise, it's good to go. So it has legal non-conforming rights because it was permitted. It is permitted based on its current use as a triplex, correct?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe that this has legal rights to parking as a 3-unit dwelling. Once it adds a unit to become a low-rise apartment dwelling, that introduces a prohibition on parking on the size of lot.
All right, thank you. That's the confirmation I think we were looking for. So any other questions?
I just have a couple for Ms. Linker.
Yes, Mr. Blather, go ahead.
Ms. Linker, I'm in looking at variance, excuse me, B and C. And in respect of section 11 of the official plan, 11.5 sub 9, which are the committee of adjustment criteria for low-rise apartment buildings in the new ones in the OP. You have a variance B permitting a reduced soft landscaping aggregated area, and the criteria in the subsection of the official plan speaks to variances to reduce required area soft landscaping, and it says here may be tied to requirements for more intensive planting such as trees, shrubs, so that the volume of vegetation compensates for reduced horizontal area. So was that considered when the department reviewed this application?
Thank you for the question. Staff reviewed this policy against the proposal, and staff do agree that the official plan does prioritize soft landscaping, and the provision of parking is considered secondary and is actually prohibited on this lot. However, in reviewing the application and how much soft landscaping was provided and the nature of the conversion, seeing that it was internal impacts only, staff believes that the conditions are existing and wouldn't be worsened through the conversion. And in this case, staff thought that the proposal meets the overall and overarching intent of the official plan objectives, which are providing missing middle housing within the inner urban transect. So it's unfortunate that additional soft landscaping can't be or is not proposed to be required or provided, and that parking is being provided instead. However, staff don't believe that it fails this test.
Okay. And as far as the reducing the interior side yard setback, that criteria is also in section 11 has also been met.
Thank you for that question as well. Staff reviewed this policy as well and believes that a sufficient space on the other side of the building can allow for adequate access to the rear yard, and there's still adequate access to maintain that wall. It's also an existing condition, and the conversion will be internal impacts only.
Okay, so you're concurring with both, excuse me, both variances B and C.
That's correct.
Review. Okay, thank you, Ms. Linker. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from members of the panel? Okay, with that then, Ms. Linker, anything else we need to know before we
Thank you,
Nope.
Madam Chair. There's nothing else to add to the application.
Okay, so with that, then I'm going to open it up. I've got nobody on my speakers list for this one. So I'm going to open it up. Anybody in the audience here or online like to speak to the committee either in a opposition or in support of this property at 556 Riverdale? Not seeing anybody come through. So with that, then we can reserve, I think, at this point, our decision, and you will get it in due course.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. So with that, need a motion to adjourn. All right, so moved by Member Coakley, seconded by Member Keklikin.